We'll start. Say the prayer. हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है. इसी में हमारा आत्म विकास समाया हुआ है. Okay. So having covered the Klesha Raga, now today we will be looking at Dvesha, Sutra 8 of chapter 2. So this sutra reads, Dukkhanushayi Dvesha. As we saw in the case of Raga, Raga was Sukhanushayi Raga. And here Dvesha is Dukkhanushayi Dvesha. So from the similarity of the words which are there, the system and the scheme of the sutra, one can make out that there is a lot of similarity between the formation of Raga and Dvesha. As far as the anatomy of Raga is concerned, same anatomy is there in the Dvesha. So there we saw that Raga is formed after agreeable experience by the knower, by the Jnata. And that agreeable experience is retained in memory. And what follows next is that whenever the person will remember that disagreeable feeling, the net effect would be agreeable feeling, then the net effect would be Raga. Just opposite is the case with Dvesha. Dvesha is related to disagreeable feeling, a feeling which is unpleasant, a feeling which is not liked. It's a painful sensation. So any disagreeable experience also will leave its impression on Smriti. And whenever that will be recalled, the net effect of that would be the creation of Dvesha. So a person dislikes this Rag, Dvesha is dislike. It's antagonism. It's a kind of effort. Immediately there is a sensation that one has to put an end to this disagreeable feeling. So we don't have to go really far to understand this. Whenever we have any kind of pain in our life, be it physical pain, be it mental pain, any kind of discomfort, any kind of suffering, any kind of misery, we immediately want to become free from this. We want to put an end to it. So that is what is this Dvesha. And if we are not able to put it off, and immediately if we are able to put it off, then maybe the Dvesha will not become very strong. But the unfortunate part is that most of the time we are not able to put off the negative things or disagreeable experiences, and then gradually the identification goes on becoming stronger, and this Dvesha as a personality trait becomes very strong. So Raga and Dvesha, these both are actually two sides of the same coin. If Raga is there, the Dvesha is bound to be there. the dvesha will be there? Because in raga, a person is always seeking, person is always having desire, person is always wanting something. As we saw, three things were there: Gardha, Krishna, and Lobha. These are the characteristics of raga. So a person who has got Krishna, a person who has got desires, we know that all desires cannot be fulfilled. All desires are not possible to be fulfilled. There will be a time when we will not be able to fulfill our desires. So when that is happening, then automatically the dvesh will come. Automatically the dvesh will arise. There is a disturbance.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. I'll tell everyone to mute. Dineshji, can you mute yourself, please?
So whatever is disagreeable and it is experienced, the jnata knows it. And when it knows it, it experiences, the cognition is there, then that will be retained again in the form of sanskara. And whenever that memory will arise,
Yeah. Shakuntala ji, please mute.
okay. So dvesha is that which is based on negative experience, negative sensation, disagreeable sensation. And the Vyas Bhashya of this sutra is very, very beautifully, stating the definition of dvesha. We should look at this Vyas Bhashya. It is such a beautiful definition which has been given there. So, it says that dvesha is a feeling of opposition, mental disinclination, propensity to hurt, and anger towards pain, or objects producing misery arising out of recollection of misery experienced before. So if we have experienced misery before and we recollect them, then what we develop is dvesha. And dvesha is what? Dvesha is opposition. Dvesha is a mental disinclination. It is a propensity to hurt. All that comes from dvesha. And when we remember any such disagreeable thing, then that happens. Now, you see, we have to again understand this is a everyday phenomenon. Every day we are expecting things to happen in our way. Every day we are expecting our desires to be fulfilled. But nature is made in such a way that we cannot have such kind of control over things where we will go on getting what we desire for. So there are going to be times when you will be denied that. And whenever we will be denied that, we will develop dvesha. Whenever somebody will come into the way, so two things are important. Our desire is not fulfilled, that is one thing, and anything or any person, any situation which is, or anything which is coming into the way of fulfillment of our desire, that is also causing the dvesha. So dvesha can be formed by two ways. One is directly because the desire is not being fulfilled, because the wishful thing is not happening. So it is really, happening. And the other is that anything which is coming into the way of fulfillment of that desire, that object also will become an object of dvesha. So we develop dvesha towards that. Now, dvesha can be, termed also as hatred, dislike. It can be termed as, antagonism. In various ways, dvesha can be categorized, and various English names can be given for dvesha. So this, when we understand this, that when wishful fulfillment is not there, whenever we are denied something, then the dvesha takes place. I'll refer here, the thoughts of Dr. Jaydev, that, how it is formed, and what happens exactly in the dvesha. What is the nature of this? Because dvesha is again pain. It is dukkha. Dukkhanushayi dvesha. Dvesh comes from dukkha. So it is a kind of dukkha. So what is the nature of this pain? Pain is primarily, Dr. Jaydev's quote I am reading, pain is primarily of the nature of non-fulfillment, non-attainment. All pain comes from disappointment of some sort of or the other. Even when we are slighted or insulted and feel hurt, it is because of the opposite of what we expected happened. We, all of us, always expect pleasant experiences, but these are so few and far between. It is the longing and craving for them that causes pain. This is precisely why so many people are in pain and misery most of their lives. So what we can make out from this is that, we have to see from our own lives, and there's a lot of pain and a lot of dvesha is there in our lives. And when we talk about the dvesha, if we have to understand that most of our actions are being guided by raga and dvesha day in day out. And whatever normally we are doing, unless something has been thought about carefully and then one does it, or one has really thought that it is something which must be done, whether I like it or I don't like it, it has to be done because that is the right thing to do, as we do in case of doing our dharma. Otherwise, whenever we are guided by the natural forces and during the course of the day, all the time we are guided by raga and dvesha. This is the typical situation. So we will look into it. Now, three important things have been stated here. Those are very important to understand. And we can relate it to our experiences, we can relate it to our life. Whenever something is happening which is preventing us from fulfilling our desire, initially there is something happening in the body and mind which is known as pratigha. Here the words Vyasa has used is pratigha. See, this raga and dvesha, Vyas Bhashya, although it is very, very small, just few sentences are there. But from the point of view of understanding yoga psychology, these are very, very important writings, and these are very important sentences. So he is using certain words like pratigha, manyu, jighansa, krodha. So whenever there is a fear, whenever one observes or perceives that his desire is not being fulfilled, or there is a fear that it will not be fulfilled, then what happens is initially one may develop a little resentment towards it, little antagonism to it. तो इसको कहते हैं प्रतिघा, एक प्रतिरोध, जिसको हिंदी में कहेंगे प्रतिरोध करने की भावना मन में आ जाती है कि why it is not happening, and person may become disturbed, and कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. So he develops a kind of little antagonism, and immediately you can see that the person's disposition changes, his behavior also changes, his thinking also changes, his expressions will change. So that antagonism will be there, and that antagonism will again depend. If it is a mild kind of desire, then the antagonism might be there, that pratigha might be there, and that is the end of it. But nevertheless, even that momentary unimportant unfulfillment of unimportant desire is also a kind of dvesha. It gives rise to a dvesha. That might be a milder form of dvesha. So there is just dislike. Okay. Now this dislike is not only towards the circumstances and the events which are preventing us from fulfilling our desires, but it could be towards the people also. You see, we are entering a room and we are tired, and there are four chairs only, and we find that 5 persons are entering simultaneously, and suddenly we find that the other 4 have occupied the chair. So this is a common occurrence. Like that, so many times it happens. We are standing in the queue. Why we are so anxious in the queue? Because we want to be there and we want our work to be done. So anybody entering the queue, it creates a lot of opposition, and sometimes that opposition may become so strong depending on the circumstances. It may develop further into more intensity, and that intensity may be called manyu. What is manyu? Manyu is, kind of anger. First, it is the resistance. We wish to stop it. We want to, prevent it from happening. But when that doesn't happen, when we are not able to prevent it, and that something is important for us, or we are seeking that thing very urgently, or the desire is strong, then it goes into manyu. Manyu is krodha. So this krodha is, the anger comes, we and the anger shows that we are, it shows in our behavior, and our mind also gets affected, our body also get affected. In fact, all the stress symptoms which are there, they are manifested when there is krodha. So immediately the krodha will come, and there will be we'll start protesting in whatever manner we are protesting. If it is not possible to protest, then we will, burn inside. We'll be holding grudge. We'll be having resentment in our mind, and then we will just be, this will be a sort of hatred towards that object which is preventing, or that person which is preventing us from fulfilling the desire. So no matter who that person is, even if the person is, a person who's lovable to us all the time, who's taking care of us, this is the reason you will find that even children develop this kind of anger and hatred towards their parents, although they know that they are surviving only because of the parents. So this Dvesha plays such an important role, and it can really bring very negative feelings in the person's mind. So gradually, a dislike, a hatred, a resentment, a grudge, all these are the second stages where, Dvesha is becoming little stronger and stronger. And we don't have to really go far in our life. Every day this is happening. Every day we are facing Dvesha. Every day we are experiencing Dvesha. It only depends on what kind of intensity, what kind of event is there, what kind of situation is there, what kind of people are in front of us. It all depends on that. But then Dvesha is something which is always, guiding our day-to-day activity. Whenever we are, whenever there is a possibility of our desire not getting fulfilled, immediately we go in Dvesha mode. And in Dvesha mode, various kinds of negative emotions will be small, little antagonism, little resistance, little protest may turn into verbal duel, it may turn into anger, it may turn into hatred, it may turn into dislike, it may turn into abuse. And then it goes on still further, and then it takes the form of the third term which Vyasa has used, jighansa. So three words are very important in Vyas Bhashya, although it is only two-line Vyas Bhashya or one-line Vyas Bhashya, but in that three words are very important: Pratigha, Manyu, and Jighansa. So whenever, why we are going into the detail of these three terms, normally, one is satisfied just talking about the Dvesha. But here, psychologically, these words are explaining what are the various stages in which mind is going through the negative experiences, and then as a result, mind is developing dvesha and hatred and this strong dislike towards something. So how that is happening, that is being explained. So in third stage, it is the jighansa. And in jighansa, what is happening? Very beautifully, Aranya has also explained that, and it is detailed in the commentaries, that jighansa is the desire or the propensity to hurt others, the propensity to do a lot of harm to harm others, propensity to hurt, kill, harm, destroy, eliminate. So it amounts to the kind of negative emotions which are associated with the jighansa are rage, anger, wrath, vendetta. Now, these are the strong terms which are used in English language, and all these will, in a way, be representing this idea of dvesha. Dvesha can become so strong that it will result into a person going into jighansa mode. And when person is in jighansa mode, he will be ready to kill. He will be ready to hurt. He will be.
Niranjan, can you please repeat the first two? I couldn't get them.
It is there in the Vyas Bhashya. It is there in the Vyas Bhashya. Two words are there. Pratiga and Manyu. So now this jighansa, it can again take various kinds of forms. Very mild kind of resentment may enter into a kind of strong dislike, strong hatred, and then that can convert into a very strong anger, and anger can convert into rage, and in rage, person loses all the critical abilities of the mind to think clearly. And that is why it is a klesha. It is a klesha because it is distorting the perception of the mind. It is distorting the ability of the person to think correctly and assess correctly what are the circumstances and what one is doing. He loses self-awareness and he may say things, he may do things which are detrimental to his own well-being. See, that is the role of dvesha. In dvesha, whenever we are acting out of dvesha, we are turning enemy to our own selves. We are becoming harmful to our own selves. It is self-defeating behavior. It is a behavior where we are creating difficulties for us. We are creating a lot of pain for us. But that is what is happening because the mind is overtaken by these kind of emotions which we are talking about. That it is a desire to hurt, desire to kill, desire to harm, destroy. Even, we want to eliminate that person from the face of God. That kind of, see, we wish, हम लोग सुनते रहेंगे, ये आदमी मरता क्यों नहीं है? ये आदमी मर क्यों नहीं जाता है? ये आदमी मेरे को इतना तकलीफ दे रहा है, इसको तो खत्म हो जाना चाहिए. तो इस प्रकार की बातें भी आदमी, ये सिर्फ वर्ड्स में आता है ऐसा नहीं है, ये अंदर मन में है इसीलिए वर्ड्स में आता है. अगर वो मन में नहीं रहता था तो वर्ड्स में वो नहीं आ सकता है. So these are the kind of thoughts which are experienced in dvesha. And then dvesha can be, all these three can be expressed. They are expressed definitely. Even if you don't want to express it, they will come out because the emotions are strongly affecting the mind and it will be manifested. So it can take three forms. It could be a vachik, speech. In speech, when the mind is negative, one is angry, one is holding grudge, then he cannot speak normally. The moment he will utter some words, the words themselves will be full of hatred, they will be full of dislike, they will be full of resentment and anger. So that will be the kaik vachik dvesha. So jighansa expressed in the terms of language, expressed in terms of what we are speaking, what we are saying. And that's why this abusive language has come into existence. There's no reason to abuse. Now we have to understand here, a person who does not have any disliking for anything cannot have any kind of antagonism, cannot have any kind of anger, cannot have any kind of resentment. If he doesn't hate any, or he doesn't find anything painful or disagreeable, then there's no chance of dvesha coming into existence. There's no possibility of the person speaking, rubbish, or he expressing anger and hurting other people. So all the abuses and all the negative terms which are there, which are used by the individual, they are showing some kind of dvesha. Even when we might be very polished, we may be cultured too. So, cultured person can hide his emotions. So in front of others, we may not express our resentment, but the kind of words, in words it can be revealed, and we can very easily detect dvesha being present in the words a person speaking. So it manifests in the form of vachik. And at kaik level, we may want to hurt somebody. Immediately when we are angry, the first reaction is to get up, stand, and our fists are formed and we are as if ready to fight. So it is a fight and flight response of the stress management. And in stress, they say that when a person is aroused, then two things are there. Either he will fight or he will run away. For fighting also he requires energy. For running away also he requires energy. So fighting for fighting, all the energies of the body will be collected together. Mind will be, आंखें बड़ी बड़ी हो जाएगी, सांस तेज चलने लगेगी, और मुंह सूख जाएगा, और पेट की क्रियाएं सब बंद हो जाएगी. All those symptoms will be there and at the kaik form, at the physical form. So वाचिक है, कायिक है. So at physical level, the most of the damage which occurs because of the stressful thoughts or because of the dvesha, even small dvesha can create lot of resentment, and it can trigger lot of physical reactions. And today you will find, abhi kuch mere khayal mein, if I remember correctly, 2-3 days back, I saw that, I read about a report that lots of videos are being circulated of ladies compartment, where the ladies are fighting with each other and they are ready to tear apart their clothes, and they are catching hold of each other with hairs, and and then the analysis was done that it is because of the stress which is there, and because of the pressures which they are facing. Nobody wants that, but it happens because one is not able to bear that pressure. So here, the mansik dvesha is accumulated, and it is accumulated to such an extent, and it goes on increasing to such an extent that it starts manifesting in the form of physical reactions. A little touch here and there, and a person says, "Mere ko haath kyun lagaya, mere ko kyun mara," and suddenly the fight will start. So the dvesha appears in the form of kaik. So one is ready to hurt others, one is ready to even kill. So there could be a fatal blow on somebody, and all that is possible under the influence of dvesha. So a lot of negative things can happen at that level. And mansik is always, whenever there is a dvesha, such a person will have a lot of jealousies, he will have a lot of envy, he will have lots of maliciousness. Now this maliciousness is very important. You see, the dvesha, which may start at the mild level or a small level, it may culminate into maliciousness. And when maliciousness comes, then a person is always wanting to harm others. So he cannot see anybody happy, he cannot see anybody doing better than him, he cannot see anybody doing well, and they will, this behavior will go on in strengthening into negative traits of doing harm to others. So there is a propensity to do, जैसे हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं परोपकार, परोपकार करने की भावना, जिसके दिल में बहुत प्रेम रहता है, जिसके दिल में बहुत दया रहती है, करुणा रहती है, तो उसके मन में हमेशा परोपकार की भावना रहती है. लेकिन जिसके मन में ये मन्यु और जिज्ञासा रहते हैं, प्रतिघा रहते हैं और द्वेष रहता है, ऐसे व्यक्ति में परापकार, दूसरे का अपकार करने का इच्छा हमेशा रहता है, कैसे भी करके दूसरों का नुकसान हो, ये भावना उसके मन में बहुत रहती है. इसीलिए वो बोलते हैं कि हमारे इधर ना, जो भारतीय परंपरा है, इंडियन साइकोलॉजी, इंडियन थिंकिंग और जो अपनी साइकोलॉजी है, दैट इज अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग साइकोलॉजी, वेरी पावरफुल साइकोलॉजी. तो हमारे इधर प्रेयर भी देखेंगे, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सब लोग सुखी हो जाएं, सब लोगों का भला हो, ऐसे हम लोग प्रेयर करते हैं. और जब भी प्रार्थना, रोज की प्रार्थना भी करते हैं, तो प्रभु सभी का कल्याण हो, ऐसा एक सबका एक प्रार्थना का एक मुख्य भाग रहता है कि प्रभु सभी का कल्याण हो. सिर्फ मैं अपना कल्याण नहीं चाहता, बल्कि सभी का कल्याण हो. अब इसके पीछे एक बहुत लॉजिकल थिंकिंग है, इसके पीछे एक बहुत बड़ा साइकोलॉजिकल मनोवैज्ञानिक तथ्य छिपा हुआ है. क्योंकि हम देखेंगे कि हमारे जीवन में, अब ये सब अनुभव की बातें हैं, जब मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ तो इसको रोज आप इसका अनुभव कर सकते हैं. हमारे जीवन में जो भी कठिनाइयां आती हैं, कभी कभी व्यक्तियों के द्वारा कठिनाई आती है. तो किस प्रकार के व्यक्तियों से हमारे को कठिनाइयां आती है? जो दुखी व्यक्ति हैं, जो खुद परेशान हैं, ऐसे व्यक्तियों से हमको कठिनाइयां आती है. हम लोगों को, जो व्यक्ति सुखी है, शांत है, अपने सुख से, अपने आराम से रह रहा है, वो आदमी किसी के लिए भी दुख नहीं चाहेगा और किसी के लिए भी दुख प्रकट नहीं करेगा, दुख क्रिएट नहीं करेगा. लेकिन जो व्यक्ति खुद दुखी है, खुद खुश नहीं है, मन में बहुत निगेटिव विचार है, मन में गुस्सा छिपा हुआ है, दे विल बी डिस्ट्रक्टिव, दे विल टर्न एंटी सोशल. और उनके साथ अगर अपना रिलेशनशिप है, तो हर जगह पे हम देखेंगे कि वो कहीं ना कहीं हम लोग को हर्ट करने का कोशिश करेंगे. If they are helpless in doing any harm to others, it will appear in their words in the form of negative talk, or kind of they will tease us, or they will put us down. They will put us put us down by saying negative things about us. They will insult us. तो मान अपमान के बारे में भी वो एक बात आता है, बार बार अपमान करेंगे। ये भी एक परापकार, ये दूसरे को नुकसान, दूसरे को हर्ट करने की जो भावना है, ये उससे उत्पन्न होती है। और इसके अलावा और एक इनके अलावा जो और एक जो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बात जो द्वेष के साथ संबंधित है, वो है मोह। मोह में भी आदमी, क्योंकि कई बार ऐसा होता है कि our experience tells us that there are people who take pleasure in hurting others. So why they are taking pleasure? Do they don't understand? Do they don't understand that dvesha, how dvesha is formed? Any disagreeable feeling gives rise to dvesha. So why they are creating disagreeable circumstances, disagreeable sensations, disagreeable events for other people? Now there is another factor which is moha, delusion. Now people also get, because under the strong influences of emotions, people may also get deluded. तो मोह के वश में वो लोग आ जाते हैं, और जब वो मोह के वश में आ जाते हैं तभी भी वो ऐसे दूसरों को पीड़ा देते हैं। दूसरे के, उनको सेंसिबिलिटी नहीं रहती है, सेंसिटिविटी नहीं रहती है। The empathy is considered to be a very high. Empathy and compassion are the highest human emotions, which really uplift the individuals. Against that, the delusion and jiggansa and dvesha are the feelings which are really downgrading the individual, pulling us down, and it is making us do things which are harmful to others as well as to us. So द्वेष का सबसे बड़ा जो ये प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वो सिर्फ दूसरों का नुकसान नहीं करता है, हमारा भी बहुत नुकसान करता है। तो ये, इसको अगर हम क्रोध के बारे में देखेंगे तो क्रोध आता है, लेकिन क्रोध में नुकसान किसका होता है? हमारा ही सबसे ज्यादा होता है। हमको लगता है हम सामने वाले को गालियां दे रहे हैं, हम सामने वाले को के ऊपर चिढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन उस वक्त हमारा बीपी शूट अप हुआ रहता है, हमारा ब्लड सर्कुलेशन चेंज हो जाता है, हमारा डाइजेशन बंद हो जाता है, हमारा नर्वस सिस्टम डैमेज होता है, बहुत सारी कैटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटी हमारे ब्रेन में और बॉडी में चलती रहती है, जिसकी वजह से हमारे शरीर का नुकसान होता है। तो ये चीज हम लोग टोटली भूल जाते हैं, और यही एक डिल्यूजन है। और कई सबसे बड़ी मजे की बात यह है कि अगर हम अविद्या का वो सूत्र ध्यान में रखेंगे तो अनित्य शुचि दुःखनात्मसु नित्य शुचि सुख आत्मख्याति रविद्या। तो दुख को सुख समझना, ये विद्वेष वाले व्यक्ति की ये खासियत है। He is in negative frame of mind, but he gets attached to this negative frame of mind, and because he gets attached to this, he enjoys. Some people enjoy anger. Some people always want to show anger because anger is the mainstay of their personality. So अगर किसी को कोई उनको समझाने जाएगा कि भैया गुस्सा मत करो या रिसेंटमेंट इट इज हार्मिंग यू, ऐसे गुस्सा नहीं करूं तो फिर मेरे पास बचेगा क्या? वही है, उसकी वजह से लोग सुनते नहीं है, मैं गुस्सा रहता हूं इसीलिए लोग सुनते हैं। ऐसा ये दिस थिंकिंग इज deluded thinking. Some people say that without anger nothing can be done. This is the kind of delusion. तो ये भी एक प्रकार का मोह है। तो ये द्वेष जो है, it can take a perverted form. And it can take a perverted form in such a way that the delusion will be created, moha will be created, and then person doesn't realize this, person doesn't really understand कि ये सही है ये गलत है, उसका जो विवेक है पूरा नष्ट हो जाता है, विवेक है जो वो पूरा खत्म हो जाता है। इसीलिए जितने भी एक्शन हमारे हिंसा से रिलेटेड है, all the हिंसा in our life is coming from द्वेष। और आगे सूत्र आएगा, आप लोगों ने वो सूत्र पहले किया भी रहेगा, और आगे ये सूत्र साधना पद में आने वाला है। तो सूत्र 34वां जो सूत्र है, जहां पे हिंसा हैज बीन एनालाइज्ड, हिंसा का एनालिसिस कैसे किया? 81 टाइप्स ऑफ हिंसा हैज बीन रिकॉग्नाइज्ड। 81 प्रकार से आदमी हिंसा करता है, और उसका हिंसा का जो तीन चीजें हैं, प्रतिघा, मन्यु और जिज्ञासा, उनको अगर हम आधार बनाएंगे तो तीन प्रकार की हिंसा, मृदु, मध्य, अधिमात्रा। इट कुड बी अ माइल्ड फॉर्म ऑफ एंगर एंड हार्म हिंसा, इट कुड बी अ मिडिल काइंड ऑफ हिंसा, और इट कुड बी अ वेरी इंटेंस काइंड ऑफ हिंसा। एंड दिस अगेन डिपेंडिंग ऑन फर्दर कैटेगरीज, 81 kinds of hinsa has been recognized by Maharshi Patanjali himself. So imagine what kind of psychology is this, to going to such a subtle level of functioning of the mind and recognizing the negative expressions and negative emotions at such a deep level. अंडरस्टैंडिंग, कोई भी स्कोप रखा नहीं है कि जहां पे हम जस्टिफिकेशन दे सके कि माय एंगर इज वैलिड, माय हिंसा इज वैलिड. ये बोलने के लिए कोई स्कोप पतंजलि ने रखा ही नहीं है. कि वो बोलता है कि एनालाइज, बी अवेयर व्हाट काइंड ऑफ हिंसा यू आर इंडल्जिंग इन, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ द्वेष यू आर होल्डिंग इन योर माइंड एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच यू आर इंडल्जिंग इन हिंसा. सो इन 81 टाइप्स, तो वो जो सूत्र है, वितर्का हिंसादय कृतकारिता अनुमोदिता लोभ क्रोध मोह पूर्वका मृदु मध्य अधिमात्रा दुख अज्ञान अनंत फला इति प्रतिपक्ष भावनम. तो प्रतिपक्ष की टेक्निक देते टाइम पे उन्होंने हिंसा का उदाहरण लिया है. हिंसा हैज बीन टेकन एन एग्जाम्पल. सो हिंसा का एग्जाम्पल लेके बोलते कृतकारिता अनुमोदिता लोभ क्रोध मोह पूर्वका. नाउ इफ यू रिमेंबर द प्रीवियस सूत्र Raga. So there we saw this Lobha, how Gardha and Krishna converts itself into Lobha. And here we saw that how this Pratigha, Manyu, Jignansa, it is the highest form of Krodha. And Moha, Moha Purvaka, we talked about delusion. The next sutra is also a kind of delusion. We will talk about it in the next sutra. But here from this Dvesha also the Moha comes. From Raga also the Moha comes. Raga is deluding. Same way Dvesha is also deluding. Raga is deluding because last time we saw that, when a person is in love, his critical thinking ability is lost. When a person is attached to something or anything, then he doesn't think in correct manner. He doesn't think in logical, rational manner. He just wants to fulfill his desire. That's what it is. So he gets deluded, and then he is going to any extent to fulfill his desire. He will not see, nothing will stop him. So that is a kind of delusion which is created. In hatred also, a person can go to such an extent that he will kill himself. That is also a possibility that, he is so overtaken by the hatred that he will kill himself, he will destroy himself. To such an extent a person can go. Last time I had read about 2 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. In that, same thing is said that dhyayato vishyan punsa sangaste shupajayate sangat sanjayate kamah, attachment, raga, sangat sanjayate kamah, कामात क्रोध अभिजायते, काम से क्रोध उत्पन्न होता है. तो काम से क्रोध और द्वेष उत्पन्न होता है. कामात, तो क्रोधात भवति सम्मोह, सम्मोहात स्मृतिभ्रंश, स्मृतिभ्रंशाद बुद्धिनाशो, बुद्धिनाशात प्रणश्यति. स्मृतिभ्रंश जो है वो ये हो जाती है, संकृत हो जाती है, और उसकी वजह से आदमी की बुद्धि का नाश हो जाता है. और जब बुद्धि का एक बार नाश हो गया तो प्राणी का खुद का नाश होने में ज्यादा देर नहीं लगती है. और ये सब क्यों हो रहा है? ये सब इसीलिए हो रहा है क्योंकि विषय जो हमारे ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ सेंसेस हैं, जो हमारे विषय हैं, वो हमको इतना अटैच कर लेते हैं खुद के साथ में, या हम कई चीजों को इतना हेट करते हैं, डिसलाइक करते हैं, द्वेष करते हैं, उनके लोगों के प्रति द्वेष करते हैं, घटनाओं के प्रति द्वेष करते हैं, मेमोरी के प्रति द्वेष करते हैं, कोई पुरानी घटना है उसको लेके द्वेष करते हैं. तो उसका जो असर होता है उसकी वजह से बुद्धि का नाश हो जाता है. और यही चीज ये सूत्रों में ये जो 2 श्लोक मैंने बोले, यही चीज ये दोनों इसमें क्लेशों में लागू, सभी क्लेशों में लागू पड़ती है. कि व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ क्लेशा? क्लेशा विल affect our perception. We will lose our ability to think correctly. ये जो हम शुरू में प्रार्थना बोल रहे हैं कि हमेशा हमको बैलेंस स्टेट में रखना है. बैलेंस स्टेट में रखना है मतलब क्या है? कि ना राग काम करेगा ना द्वेष काम करेगा, लेकिन जो सही है वो काम करेगा, विवेक काम करेगा. केवल विवेक, ऐसी बैलेंस स्टेट, संतुलित मन की जो अवस्था है उसमें ही विवेक काम करता है. जब हम इमोशंस और फीलिंग्स के द्वारा प्रभावित हो जाते हैं तब हमारा विवेक काम नहीं करता. वी हेट सम, वी आर एंग्री, तो कभी विवेक चले गया. वी आर अटैच्ड, टू मच अटैच्ड. इसीलिए माँ का प्यार रहता है बच्चों के प्रति, लेकिन बच्चों को खराब करने के लिए भी वो प्यार रिस्पॉन्सिबल रहता है. सो वी आर पैम्परिंग द चिल्ड्रन, And same way in relationship also, people take advantage because we love them. So we allow them to take advantage of us, and then later on it develops into something very big, and then the entire thing becomes so painful. So these rag and dvesha, they are the two sides of the same coin. If you are seeking one, the other is lurking behind. अगर हम ये करें कि मेरे को जीवन में हमेशा सुख ही सुख मिले, तो वो तो हो नहीं सकता है. अगर सुख चाहते हैं तो दुख आने की संभावना पूरी पूरी है. और ऐसा दूसरा इसको निगेटिव ढंग से भी देख सकते हैं कि आदमी सोचता है कि चलो मेरे जीवन में दुख नहीं आना चाहिए. तो ऐसा भी प्रयत्न रहता है, हम लोग इसको चाहें या नहीं चाहें, लेकिन हमारे सभी एक्शन इन्हीं दो बातों से प्रेरित रहते हैं. यही हमारे जीवन का मोटिवेशन है, यही दिन रात हम लोग करते हैं. तो आदमी ये कोशिश करता है कि मुझे दुख नहीं आए, लेकिन फिर भी रुकेगा नहीं, दुख तो आने ही वाला है. वो सोचेगा कि दुख नहीं आए तो दुख आने वाला है, क्योंकि अगर वो ये चाहे कि मैं राग भी नहीं चाहिए, दुख नहीं, द्वेष भी नहीं चाहिए, तब पॉसिबल है. तो योग जो है ये ऐसी प्रक्रिया है जो हमको दोनों से मुक्त कर सकता है. तो इसीलिए मतलब भगवत गीता में उन्होंने कहा है कि सकाम कर्म करने वाला आदमी को दुख और राग और द्वेष रहेगा ही रहेगा, क्योंकि when he is attached to the fruits of the result, उसको दुख और सुख आते रहेगा. और जो निष्काम कर्म करेगा, न उसको दुख छुएगा, न उसको द्वेष छुएगा, क्योंकि वो ऐसी कोई परिस्थिति को डिसलाइक करता ही नहीं है. वो डिसलाइक और लाइक के बियॉन्ड चले जाता है. And then when he is performing this निष्काम कर्म, then he can be relatively free from this. अब इसको थोड़ा सा हम लोग एक एक्सरसाइज के तौर पे इसको कर सकते हैं कि आज के दौरान थोड़ा सा अभी 5 मिनट के लिए हम लोग करेंगे इसको. For 5 minutes we will do this reflection exercise now. So you can take a comfortable position, sit properly, relaxed, and take any action of today. You can just recall in your mind whatever activity has been done since morning, and take some important activity. There might be activities which are of routine kind. जैसे उठे तो ब्रश किया, भूख लगी थी तो खाना खाया. We will not take such activity, but और कोई एक्शन जो हम लोगों ने किया, तो कहीं गए, किसी से मिले, किसी से बातें की, कुछ बाहर गए, कुछ काम किया. तो ये कुछ important activity लेके we will just try to understand what is the motive behind that, why we did it. And last time, as I was telling you, that you may find one motive, then behind that there might be another, behind that there might be another. So just take few actions quickly. Don't spend too much time on analysis. Just take an action and go into motivation. Why did I do it? Why did I do it? What was the motivation? Just for 5 minutes, you can do it. Start. Okay. So if we reflect regularly like this, then we can easily trace the influence of raga and dvesha in our life, and certain vital areas where we should be able to think correctly and clearly. If those areas are affected by raga and dvesh, we are sure to be going wrong, and definitely we are going to suffer as a result in life. So if at all we want to avoid these negative happenings, then one has to really think about this raga and dvesha and how powerful they are. You will be surprised that all unconscious decisions, all unconscious activities which are done during the day, and one may understand that how unconscious activities are done. A major chunk of all our actions are unconscious. We are not aware what we are doing, and they are all guided by raga and dvesha. So you can imagine what kind of percentage of our actions is guided by raga and dvesha, and not by reason, not by correct thinking, not by logic, not by viveka, but we are guided by attachments and hatreds. We are guided by raga and dvesha. And abhinivesh. Abhinivesh is a part of dvesha. Abhinivesh is not a different category. It is a stronger form, but again, it will go into the category of dvesha only. So these two are really the guiding factors. जो एक बहुत साल पहले when I joined Yoga Institute, in that time I was reading a book by Raj Gopalachari. There were comments on Bhagavad Gita, and in that book he has mentioned about two bulls. दो बैलों के बारे में बात किया है जो बैलगाड़ी खींच रहे हैं. तो वो बोलते हैं कि बैलगाड़ी में जो दो बैल जुते हुए रहते हैं उनका बिहेवियर देखना चाहिए. तो रास्ता कैसा रहता है, उसमें चढ़ाव उतार रहते हैं. तो जब भी उतार आता है तो दोनों बैल जो है वो बैलगाड़ी को खींचते हैं, इतना जोर जोर से दौड़ने लगते हैं क्योंकि अब उनको कोई कष्ट नहीं है. तो दौड़ते 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 नीचे जाते हैं, और फिर जैसे वो उतार जो है वो जो खत्म होता है, चढ़ाव चालू होता है, तो देन यू सी देयर कंडीशन, उनके मुंह से झाग निकलना चालू होता है, दुखी रहते हैं, देयर इज अ स्ट्रगल. तो हमारा आदमियों का स्वभाव भी ऐसा ही है. उन्होंने कहा कि जब थोड़ा सुख की घड़ी रहती है तो हम वो ये बैलों की तरह दौड़ पड़ते हैं, उसमें कूद जाते हैं विदाउट रियलाइजिंग कि अरे इसको भी अंत होगा, ये तो परमानेंट रहने वाला नहीं है. और फिर जब दुख चालू होता है तो हम लोग को ऐसा लगता है ये कभी अंत नहीं होगा, और हम लोग दुखी होके वो बैलों की तरह बिहेव करते हैं. तो पूरा जीवन हमारा ऐसे ही बीतता है, कभी दुख आता है कभी सुख आता है. तो ये पेंडुलम के जैसा एग्जिस्टेंस हम लोग का रहता है. तो इन सब से अगर मुक्ति पाना है तो इसके बारे में थोड़ा चिंतन करना बहुत जरूरी है. तो वी विल एंड विथ एक स्मॉल एक डॉक्टर साहब का एक नोट है. आई रीड दैट एंड देन we'll see if time for questions is there. What are the effects of dvesha operating in our life? Dvesha is a repulsion, and it has got two main effects. Either we encounter the person, place, thing or event with fear and disgust, or we avoid it out of fear. Either we face it with fear and disgust, or we avoid it because it is creating fear and disgust in our mind. So either we will face it with lot of negative emotions or we will avoid it. The more we avoid it, the more we are pushing it on the back burner, where it is bound to flare up later. And if we face it with fear and disgust, we achieve nothing. And we also learn nothing when we are confronted by it. This affects our lives in a host of negative ways, aiding to our misery and our trauma. So dvesha will always create misery and trauma in our life. And if you want to get rid of it, then little thinking on raga and dvesha is necessary. Little understanding and little freedom. So there is a famous famous quote by great Buddha teacher, Buddhistic teacher. He has written very famous book, Acharya Shanti Dev. So he has talked about paramitas, and prajna paramita, shanti paramita, dana paramita, shila paramita. 6 kind of paramitas have been talked about by him. And in that, he talks about something very important. So he says, dveshe dvesho astu me varam. अगर दुनिया में किसी चीज से द्वेष करना है तो द्वेष के साथ ही द्वेष करो. जो हमारी पाप बुद्धि है, द्वेष की वजह से पाप होता है. द्वेष की वजह से हम ऐसे काम करते हैं जो पाप की गिनती में आते हैं, जो हमारे लिए दुख निर्माण करते हैं. इसके लिए पाप के साथ तुम्हारा द्वेष होना चाहिए, बाकी किसी के चीज के साथ में भी तुम्हारा द्वेष नहीं होना चाहिए. इसीलिए he goes to extend that you should be grateful to your enemies, because enemies are giving you a chance to practice your sadhana, practice your shama, practice your shanti. So adversity should be welcomed, and this adversity is really helping you to become strong. It is helping you to practice the right dharma. So that you should be grateful to such people who are harming or who are not helpful to you. That is the attitude one has to live with. So this is a Bodhicharya Avatar is a very, very important granth of Buddhistic state. In Mahayana Buddhism, the principal guide for all the Buddhist monks is Bodhicharya Avatar, composed by Acharya Shanti Dev. It's a very valuable book. So in that, this idea of dvesha has been given, that dvesho astu me varam. द्वेष के साथ द्वेष करना चाहिए. तो ये स्वामी धर्मविगारण्य ने भी अपने राइटिंग्स में कहा है कि इसकी तरफ थोड़ा ध्यान देना चाहिए. We can think about it and reflect on it a little. Quickly, if there are one or two questions we can take. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Actually, I don't know whether it is actually said by Einstein. He said, it seems he said that I can measure the velocity of light, but I cannot measure the hatred in human beings.
Yeah.
So it is actually very deep rooted. And you mentioned that of that person who says that if I don't get angry, the work will not get done. But I think there was one person whom I was scared of, and that was Dr. Jaydev. And he never shouted, never abused. But in his presence, doing or saying something is different. Even thinking wrong was not possible. So, like, there can be other ways of getting your work done other than shouting and abusing, which we saw in him, like such a big institution and 1,000 people visiting, and things were happening. Like, so, like, we can get things done without abusing and shouting. And lastly, what I wanted to share is I had joined the institute because of my depression. Now, I was feeling very low. I was not happy with myself. And so I was not happy with anyone. I was not happy with God also. And I felt he was sleeping and he was not just. And after joining the institute, when I started becoming a little healthier, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I started loving myself. And in the bargain, I started feeling that God is there and he's benevolent and people around me are also good. So I think it all boils down to my own peace, my own happiness within. If I can tap that, then I think the world is good and people are good. So,
Yeah.
like, this is what my experience is. The day I'm peaceful, I'm relaxed, I feel sab theek hai, everybody is good. Agar koi cheez mere hisab se nahi ho rahi hai, to bhi it's fine. But the day I'm not here, sound, peaceful, then I hate myself also very often. And I'm not happy with God, I'm not happy with people. So I think it's that way. That is what my personal experience has been.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely when we are full of anger and resentment and negativity or hatred, we see that only around us. And then we are not at peace. Dr. Jaydev, he was practicing yoga. That's why he had that kind of personality. And all yogis and all yoga practitioners, they have this kind of trait that they don't get easily disturbed. They don't get easily perturbed because they understand the moment this anger or resentment or jigyansa kind of emotions arise, they are able to check it. So that's what is suggested.
And is it true that it is easier to overcome rag, very difficult to overcome dvesh?
Yes. Yes, it is true from the point of view of gunas also, because pleasure, raga, it has got little more of sattva, whereas raga has got more of rajas and very strong rajas. Very strong power is there in dvesha. And still stronger is abhinivesh. Out of all the kleshas, the abhinivesh is the strongest, and second strong is the dvesha, and third is raga. But Swami Dharmavegaranya has said that any mental state, any vritti which is destroying the kleshas is acceptable, and any vrittis which is strengthening the kleshas has to be taken care of. It should be eliminated. तो बोलते हैं कि द्वेष भी अलाउड है, अगर वो द्वेष तुम द्वेष के साथ करो तो, पाप बुद्धि से द्वेष करो, अब दूसरे का अपकार करने से द्वेष करो, दूसरों को हार्म करने से द्वेष करो, वो कभी मत करो. वो द्वेष करोगे तो उससे मुक्ति मिलना संभव है ये क्लेश से. ठीक है, we leave it here.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Namaste.